Welcome to this lesson on basic words and sentences in French. Today we will cover essential vocabulary and sentence structures that are crucial for everyday communication. We'll start with greetings and introductions, and then move on to nationalities, ages, and more. Let's get started. We'll start with greetings and introductions, which are the building blocks of any conversation. First, let's look at some common French greetings. Bonjour. This means hello and is used both formally and informally. You can use it at any time of the day, but it is mostly commonly used in the morning or early afternoon. Bonsoir. This means good evening or good night. It is used in the evening and can be also used at a farewell at the end of the day. Salut. This is a more informal way of saying hi. It's commonly used among friends and in casual settings. Coco. This is a very informal way of saying hi and often used between close friends or family members. Let's move on to introductions. Introductions are crucial for making good first impression. Here are some key phrases. Je m'appelle. This means my name is, and is a simple way to introduce yourself. Enchanté. This means nice to meet you, and is a formal way to respond to an introduction. Ravi de vous rencontrer. This also means pleased to meet you, and is another formal way to respond. Ravi de faire votre connaissance. This means pleased to meet you as well, and is a more formal and polite way to respond. Salut, je suis. This is an informal way to introduce yourself, meaning hi, I'm. And lastly, moi c'est. This is another informal way to introduce yourself, meaning I am. When someone introduces themselves, it is polite to respond. There are some common responses. Uh, Enchanté, moi c'est. This means nice to meet you. I'm. Ravi, je suis. This means pleased to meet you. I'm. Practicing these phrases and you'll be well prepared for your next French conversation. Next, let's talk about nationalities. Knowing how to express your nationality and ask about someone else's is a fundamental skill in French. Nationalities in French have both masculine and feminine forms, and they are usually placed after the word être, which is to be. Here are some common nationalities. Française, the French. Américain, the Americans. Anglais, the English. Espagnol, the Spanish. Italien, which means the Italians. Allemand, which means German. Chinois, which is Chinese. Japonais, which is the Japanese. And Russe, which is the Russian. To say I am, you would use je suis, followed by the nationality. For example, je suis français. I am French. Elle est américaine. She is American. Ils sont anglais. They are English. Notice how nationality changes to match the gender and number of the subject. Practice these phrases to help describe your own nationality and ask. Now let's learn how to express ages and numbers in French. Expressing age is a bit different in French compared to English. Instead of saying I am 20 years old, you say I have 20 years old. Here are some key phrases. J'ai dash ans, which means I am dash years old. Il a dash ans, which means he is dash years old. Elle a dash ans, which means she is dash years old. And finally, nous avons dash ans, which means we are dash years old. To ask someone's age, you can use phrases like quel âge avez-vous, which means how old are you? And this is a formal phrase. Tu as quel âge, which means how old are you as well, but this is a more informal phrase. Now let's learn the numbers from 1 to 20, which we can use to express the age of some students. Un, which means one, deux, two, trois, three, quatre, four, cinq, five, six, six, sept, seven, huit, eight, neuf, nine, dix, 10, 11, 11, 12, 12, 13, 13, 14, 14, 15, 15, 16, 16, 17, 17, 18, 18, 19, 19, and finally 20, 20. Practicing counting in French and using these numbers to express ages. For example, j'ai 20 ans. I am 20 years old. Il a 10 ans. He is 10 years old. Elle a 15 ans. She is 15 years old. Nous avons 30 ans. We are 30 years old. Remember to always specify ans, which means years, when starting your age. Okay, let's start with some basic words we can learn. First, we can do is learn colors. Colors are an important part of our daily lives, and knowing the French words for them will help you describe the world around you. There are some basic colors in French: rouge, bleu, vert, jaune, blanc, noir, gris, marron, orange, rose, and violet. Take a look at the image on the screen. Try to remember these colors. You can use these words to describe objects, clothing, and more. Now let's learn the days of the week and months of the year in French. Knowing these will help you talk about your schedule, plan events, and discuss dates. Days of the week: lundi, mardi, mercredi, jeudi, vendredi, samedi, and dimanche. Months of the year: janvier, février, mars, avril, mai, juin, juillet, août, septembre, octobre, novembre, décembre. Now let's move on to negative sentences. Negative sentences are used to indicate that something is not happening or is not true. In French, negative sentences are typically formed using the words ne and pas. Some key indicators are the presence of ne and pas surrounding the verb in the sentence. Examples: je ne mange pas de viande. Il n'aime pas le café. Now let's move on to forming negative sentences. The basic structure for forming negative sentences is ne plus verb plus pas. And look at some examples to see how this works in practice. Je parle français. Je ne parle pas français. And il mange une pomme. Il ne mange pas de pomme. Notice how ne and pas are placed around the verb to form the negative. Now to conclude, we've covered a lot of essential vocabulary and sentence structures in this lesson. Let's recap the key points: greetings and introductions, nationalities, ages and numbers, basic words like colors, days of the week, and months of the year. And then we finally learned how to make negative sentences and how to identify